Deep beneath the capital world of the Empire lay a place that almost nobody knew existed. The Imperial Archives. Miles upon miles of reinforced corridors stretched beneath the surface of the planet. Hidden behind military checkpoints and security systems powerful enough to defend a small moon were the records of every civilization the Empire had ever encountered. Thousands of species, thousands of worlds, thousands of victories. For most, the archives were a monument to imperial greatness. For historian, they were a cemetery. The elderly moved slowly through the silent hallways, his gray scales reflecting the pale blue glow of the archive lights. Behind him followed a group of young military cadets, all eager to learn about the glorious history of the Empire. Stopped beside a massive wall of data crystals. "Tell me," he said, turning toward the students, "what is the first lesson every child learns about conquest?" A young cadet immediately raised his claw. "Superior force creates submission." "Correct," replied. The cadets nodded confidently. It was the foundation of the Empire. For thousands of years, they had expanded across the galaxy using the same method. Find a civilization. Demonstrate overwhelming military superiority. Demand surrender. The conquered species would analyze the situation, realize resistance was impossible, and accept occupation. It happened every time. Some civilizations negotiated. Some cried. Some begged. A few attempted resistance for a short period. But eventually, every species reached the same conclusion. Surrender was preferable to extinction. They offered protection, infrastructure, advanced technology, and membership within the Empire. In return, conquered worlds paid taxes and accepted rule. Simple, efficient, inevitable, gestured toward the endless rows of archive shelves. Every file in this room follows that pattern. The cadets looked around proudly. Thousands of victories, thousands of confirmations that the Empire's philosophy worked. Then turned toward a massive armored vault door at the far end of the hall. Unlike the other archive sections, this door was guarded by armed soldiers. The students immediately noticed. One cadet frowned. "What is kept in there?" For a moment remained silent. Then he answered, "The only mistake our empire ever made." The room suddenly felt colder. The cadets exchanged confused looks. Mistake? The Empire didn't make mistakes. At least that was what history books taught. Slowly approached the vault. His security clearance activated the ancient locks. Massive gears rotated. The heavy door slid open. Inside sat a single glowing crystal. Only one. The label beneath it contained 2 words. Humanity File. The cadets stared. Some had heard stories. Most considered them myths. Humans, the species that no longer existed. The species that had supposedly been defeated centuries ago. Carefully removed the crystal. "According to official history," he said quietly, "the Empire won the human war." Several cadets nodded. That much they knew. Humanity had been classified as a dangerous species. The Empire had eliminated the threat. Victory. Case closed. Gave a humorless laugh. If that is true, then why are our military shipyards still half empty after 3 centuries? No one answered. Why did a quarter of our population disappear during that war? Silence. Why do economists still refer to that conflict as the Great Collapse? The cadets shifted uncomfortably. Looked down at the crystal. Because we won the war. His yellow eyes narrowed. And lost everything. The room fell silent. With a press of his claw, the crystal activated. A holographic image of Earth appeared above them. Blue oceans. Green continents. White clouds. Beautiful. Primitive. Deceptive. When we first discovered humanity, began, our leaders thought they were a joke. Images appeared showing human history. Ancient wars. National borders. religious conflicts, political disputes, economic rivalries, humans fighting humans. Again and again, they were divided, constantly arguing, constantly competing, constantly at war with each other. The cadets watched battles flash across the hologram. Compared to us, their technology was primitive. They lacked energy shields. They lacked plasma weaponry. Their starships were oversized steel boxes powered by fusion reactors. One cadet laughed. They never had a chance. Slowly looked at him. No. The historian's voice became deadly serious. We never had a chance. The laughter instantly died. Expanded the hologram. Human fleets appeared. Crude, boxy, ugly, nothing like elegant warships. Our leaders saw weakness. The image shifted. Human nations began uniting. Military alliances formed. Industrial production increased. World governments started cooperating. The historian sighed. What our leaders failed to understand was that humans only fight each other when there is nobody else available. The students frowned. What do you mean? His eyes remained fixed on the hologram. When an external threat appears, human divisions disappear. The hologram displayed humanity standing together against the coming invasion. Political enemies become allies. Rivals become brothers. Entire nations become one. Another image appeared. The insignia of the Empire. Our arrival united a species that had spent centuries fighting itself. The cadets exchanged nervous looks. Continued. More importantly, we misunderstood human psychology. The hologram displayed statistics comparing galactic species. Every intelligent species values survival. Charts appeared. Probability calculations. Risk assessments. Surrender percentages. When a battle becomes mathematically unwinnable, every species chooses life. A pause. Except humans. The room became silent again. Humans value strange things. The image showed human families. Homes, flags, cities, children, freedom, pride, identity. They will die for concepts. One cadet blinked. Concepts. Nodded. Freedom. Another image. Home. Another. Family. Another. Pride. The historian folded his arms. If you threaten those things, humans stop calculating survival. The hologram changed to scenes of warfare. They stop asking whether they can win. Explosions erupted across the display. They start asking how much damage they can cause before they die. Nobody laughed anymore. The next image appeared. A frozen planet. Gray ice fields stretched across the horizon. Mining complexes dotted the landscape. NEWMIN B9. The first battlefield. The first warning. The warning the Empire ignored. B9 was a mining colony, explained. 10,000 humans. The hologram displayed the colony. Tiny. Insignificant. There were 12 security ships protecting it. A cadet snorted. 12. Nodded. 12. The display expanded. 30 enormous dreadnoughts appeared. Black warships kilometers long. Massive. Invincible. The Third Armada. Our leaders considered the mission routine. The students could see why. 30 dreadnoughts against 12 security ships. The outcome was obvious. Our admiral arrived in orbit and transmitted the standard surrender message. A recording appeared. The admiral's voice echoed through the room. Disable your defenses. Surrender your colony. Prepare for imperial occupation. The message ended. The students waited. 10 minutes later, another recording played. Human voices. The response contained only one sentence. Come take it off our dead bodies, you reptilian scum. Several cadets blinked. One actually laughed. Then he noticed wasn't laughing. The historian stared silently at the hologram. The admiral was furious. The Third Armada opened fire. Plasma beams flashed across space. Human defense stations exploded. Security ships vanished in brilliant fireballs. The battle was over almost immediately. At least that was what everyone believed. One human vessel remained. The UHC. A cargo transport. Not even a warship. The ship burned from multiple breaches. Half its engines were gone. Its weapons had melted. Its crew was dying. According to every known military doctrine in the galaxy, the ship should have surrendered. It didn't. Instead, the accelerated. Straight toward the formation. The cadets watched the hologram. Why, one whispered. Answered, because it still had one weapon left. The engines ignited. Every remaining ounce of reactor power flowed into propulsion. The dying vessel surged forward. Closer. Faster. 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 They detected the threat and opened fire. Laser batteries filled space. Chunks of the vaporized. Its bridge disappeared. Its hull split apart. Crew compartments exploded. Still it came. The burning wreck refused to stop. His voice became quiet. A 3-kilometer steel ship moving near light speed does not care about lasers. The hologram showed impact. The slammed directly into the side of the dreadnought. The collision folded the massive battleship in half. One heartbeat later, the fusion reactor exploded. A miniature star ignited inside the formation. The shockwave ripped through nearby ships. 3 dreadnoughts vanished. 4 more suffered catastrophic damage. 23,000 elite personnel died in seconds. The room fell silent. The students stared at the destruction. No one spoke. Finally, one cadet asked the obvious question. The humans lost, didn't they? Nodded. Yes. The colony was occupied. Every human on B9 died. The Empire officially recorded the battle as a victory. The historian looked around the room. Tell me. Nobody answered. If you trade 10,000 lives for 3 dreadnoughts and 23,000 enemy soldiers. His eyes narrowed. Did you really lose? Silence. The hologram faded. The students stood frozen. For the first time, they were beginning to understand. The Empire had expected surrender. The humans had chosen revenge. And that had only been the first battle. Back in the Imperial capital, politicians dismissed the disaster. Military leaders called it an isolated incident. Analysts claimed humans had simply acted irrationally. Future battles would be easier. The Empire would adapt. The Empire would win. Slowly return the crystal to its pedestal. The old historian looked at the cadets. The tragedy is that they genuinely believed that. The vault door began closing. Heavy metal echoed through the chamber. One student hesitated. What happened next? Stopped walking. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he turned toward them. His expression was grim. The Empire decided it had finally learned how humans fought. The cadets waited. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. So we prepared a massive invasion of humanity's agricultural world. A new image appeared above the crystal. Endless golden fields. Blue oceans. Green continents. Demeter. The historian stared at the planet. And that, he said quietly, is where the real nightmare began. The image of Demeter hovered above the archive crystal. Golden continents stretched beneath white clouds. Vast oceans sparkled beneath sunlight. Endless fields covered entire regions of the planet. To the Empire, Demeter was worth more than a dozen military worlds combined. Food, fresh water, agricultural resources. If B9 had been a minor mining colony, Demeter was one of humanity's beating hearts. Historians stood silently, as the cadets stared at the hologram. After the disaster at B9, he said, our military leadership convinced itself that humans were simply emotional creatures who occasionally acted irrationally. The old gave a bitter laugh. They thought the solution was simple. The hologram zoomed closer. Instead of destroying the planet from orbit, we would capture it intact. A massive fleet appeared. Thousands of landing craft. Hundreds of warships. Endless streams of soldiers. The cadets watched as military statistics appeared. 500,000 troops. Mechanized infantry. Heavy tanks. Orbital support. Elite shock divisions. Against them stood only a few thousand trained human defenders. The outcome seemed obvious. It always seemed obvious. Our commanders believed civilians would surrender once they saw our army. The hologram shifted. Human population centers appeared. Farmers, mechanics, teachers, engineers, doctors, ordinary people. After all, continued, they weren't soldiers. One cadet nodded. Reasonable. The historian looked at him. That was our mistake. The invasion began at dawn. Thousands of drop ships descended through Demeter's atmosphere. The sky burned with streaks of fire. Human anti-air defenses fought desperately, but they were overwhelmed. Landing zones were secured. Cities were surrounded. Military bases were destroyed. Within days, forces pushed deep into human territory. Reports arriving at Imperial Command were optimistic. Victory was only a matter of time. Then the civilian resistance started. At first, nobody paid attention. A destroyed patrol vehicle. A missing squad. A damaged supply convoy. Small incidents. Annoying incidents. Then entire battalions began disappearing. The hologram changed. A vast farming region appeared. Endless fields stretched toward distant hills. One armored division marched toward a major grain storage facility. Everything seemed peaceful. Then movement appeared on the horizon. Hundreds of vehicles. The cadets squinted. Those aren't military transports. No, replied. They were tractors. The students blinked. Tractors. Agricultural machines. The hologram zoomed in. The humans had welded steel plates onto the vehicles. Improvised armor covered every surface. Windows were reinforced. Engines modified. And hidden inside every machine were tons of explosives. Mining charges. Industrial fuel. Fertilizer compounds. Anything that could explode. The convoy accelerated. Straight toward the advancing army. Plasma cannons opened fire. One tractor exploded. Then another. Then another. The battlefield became an inferno. Yet the surviving vehicles never slowed. The humans didn't turn away. They didn't retreat. They didn't abandon their machines. The drivers kept charging through walls of fire. Activated recovered battlefield audio. Human voices echoed through the archive chamber. Some were laughing. Some were screaming. Some were singing. All of them were moving forward. They knew they were going to die, one cadet whispered. Yes. Then why continue? His answer was immediate. Because there were ahead. The hologram showed a burning tractor smashing directly into a heavy tank. The explosion lit up the battlefield. A crater 50 meters wide appeared where the vehicle had once stood. Shockwaves flipped armored vehicles. Infantry squads vanished. Entire formations disappeared beneath walls of fire. Dozens more tractors reached the lines. Each one detonated. Each one took soldiers with it. When the smoke cleared, thousands of Imperial troops were dead. And those had only been farmers. The invasion continued. Town after town fell. Village after village burned. But every kilometer cost blood. Every victory came with casualties. Every conquered settlement became another battlefield. Humans fought from rooftops, from tunnels, from sewers, from barns, from factories. Children carried ammunition. Old men built explosives. Teachers became snipers. Mechanics became saboteurs. The distinction between civilian and soldier disappeared entirely. Demeter became a planet where every human was a combatant. Weeks later, forces entered the planetary capital. What remained of the organized human military was cornered inside a ruined hospital. 20 militia fighters. That was all. The building was surrounded. Escape was impossible. The commander decided to offer surrender. The hologram displayed recovered helmet footage. Smoke drifted through shattered hallways. The general stepped forward. "You have fought honorably," he announced through a translator. His voice echoed through the ruins. "But the battle is over." No answer. The general continued. "Exit the building with your hands visible. You will be treated according to intergalactic law." Silence. Then footsteps emerged from the smoke. A single human appeared. The militia leader. Blood covered his face. One arm hung uselessly at his side. Half his uniform was burned away. Yet somehow he was smiling. The general frowned. "You have no options left." The human chuckled. "No options?" His grin widened. "Oh, we've got plenty." The cadets watched silently. The human slowly opened his jacket. A metal cylinder was strapped to his chest. The general's eyes widened. An antimatter fuel tank. Portable. Unstable. Military grade. The human looked around at the surrounding. Then he pressed the detonator. The recording ended in white light. The hospital disappeared. The entire city block vanished. The explosion killed every human defender. It also killed the general and more than 200 soldiers. Another victory. Another disaster. Months later, Demeter finally fell. The flag was raised above the planet. Officially, the Empire had won. Celebrations began across imperial space, until occupation forces submitted their reports. The hologram displayed satellite images. Burned fields, destroyed farms, poisoned reservoirs, demolished infrastructure. The humans had destroyed everything. Every crop field had been set on fire. Every grain storage facility demolished. Water purification systems sabotaged. Agricultural machinery melted down. Even the soil had been contaminated. The Empire had captured an empty shell. A dead world. The cost of conquest exceeded the value of the planet itself, explained. Demeter became the first campaign in history that operated at a financial loss. The cadets exchanged uneasy looks. The war continued. 1 year became 5. 5 became 10. 10 became 20. Humanity refused to surrender. Every colony fought. Every station resisted. Every invasion became another nightmare. The hologram displayed casualty statistics. Numbers climbed higher and higher. Millions. Tens of millions. Hundreds of millions. The cost became unimaginable. Human raiders attacked supply routes. Cargo convoys vanished. Fuel depots exploded. Occupied worlds erupted in rebellion. Shipyards suffered sabotage. Factories were bombed. No location was safe. The Empire had conquered territory. Yet somehow the humans remained everywhere. The economy began collapsing. Taxes increased. Resources disappeared. Citizens demanded answers. Across worlds, protests erupted. The people wanted to know why a supposedly primitive species had become an existential threat. Military leaders promised victory was near. They always promised victory was near. Eventually, Imperial High Command chose a new target. Station 7, The hologram revealed an enormous asteroid floating through deep space. Its interior had been hollowed out. Shipyards filled its cavernous chambers. Repair docks covered its surface. Thousands of vessels depended on it. It was humanity's largest maintenance facility. Destroy it, and the human fleet would slowly die. Capture it, and the war could finally end. At least that was the plan. The Empire assembled one of the largest assault forces in its history. 50 dreadnoughts, thousands of boarding craft, tens of thousands of soldiers. The operation launched without warning. Station defenses were crushed. Hangar doors breached. Boarding pods flooded into the asteroid. The invasion began. At first, everything proceeded according to schedule. Then the humans started fighting. Again, not soldiers, workers, mechanics, technicians, engineers, ordinary laborers. The hologram showed corridor combat footage. A soldier entered a maintenance tunnel. A welding torch cut through his armor. Another rounded a corner. A rivet gun punched through his visor. Industrial equipment became weapons. Every room became a battlefield. Every hallway became a death trap. Every meter had to be earned. By the third day, entire sections of the station remained contested. Thousands of bodies filled the corridors. They kept advancing. Slowly, painfully, inevitably. Finally, they reached the reactor core. The heart of Station 7. The battle should have ended there. Instead, they found one last defender. A human woman. A welder. Nothing more. She stood beside the reactor controls. Blood soaked her clothing. 2 plasma wounds burned through her torso. She should have been dead already. Yet she remained standing. The captain raised his rifle. Move away from the controls. The woman didn't move. If you surrender now, we can save your life. For a moment, she simply stared at him. Then she spat blood onto the floor. The captain waited. The woman laughed. Actually laughed. I spent 20 years keeping this station alive. She gripped a massive magnetic wrench. Her hands trembled from blood loss. But her eyes never left the captain. I'm not letting a bunch of oversized lizards touch my reactor. Before anyone could react, she swung the wrench. The glass containment housing shattered. Warning alarms erupted instantly. The reactor entered critical failure. The captain screamed orders. Soldiers ran. It didn't matter. The containment field collapsed. Antimatter storage ruptured. And Station 7 died. The asteroid split apart from the inside. A star was born in the darkness. The explosion consumed everything. Human workers, soldiers, the station itself, nearby dreadnoughts, all gone. When the light finally faded, Station 7 no longer existed. 5 dreadnoughts had been annihilated. Thousands of soldiers were dead. Humanity had lost another strategic asset. The Empire had gained nothing. The hologram slowly faded. Silence filled the archive once more. The cadets stood frozen. No one spoke. No one moved. Finally, one student managed a question. How long did this continue? Historian stared at the dark crystal. His voice was barely above a whisper. 48 years. The room became still. 48 years. 48 years of victories that felt like defeats. 48 years of conquering worlds that became ruins. 48 years of paying for every human life with thousands of lives. Activated the next file. A blue planet appeared above them. Oceans, continents, clouds, Earth, humanity's birthplace, humanity's final fortress. The old historian looked at the image with haunted eyes. By the time we reached Earth, he paused. Half of our military was gone. The cadets stared at the planet. Nobody said a word. because for the first time, they understood what was coming. And far away in the archives, the next chapter of humanity's story waited to be opened. The hologram of Earth floated silently above the archive crystal. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds drifting peacefully across the atmosphere. A paradise, a world that had once been home to billions. Historians stared at it for several moments before speaking. When the fleet finally reached Earth, the war had already lasted 48 years. The cadets remained silent. No one interrupted. No one dared. Because by now they understood. Every human world had fallen. Every colony had been destroyed. Every shipyard had been erased. Humanity's once great fleet existed only as drifting wreckage scattered across space. And yet the Empire had paid a terrible price for every victory. Half its military was gone. Entire generations of soldiers had disappeared. Its economy was shattered. Its citizens were angry. Its worlds were restless. And still the war continued. Enlarged the hologram, 100 dreadnoughts appeared in orbit around Earth. The largest concentration of military power in Imperial history. The final hammer. The final judgment. The final victory. At the center of the fleet stood the Imperial flagship. Upon its bridge stood Grand Admiral X, the man who had commanded the final years of the war. The man who had lost his brother on Demeter. The man who had lost his son at Station 7. The man who hated humanity more than any living. A junior officer approached him. Admiral, long-range scans show almost no active military assets. X remained silent. The officer continued. The human fleet has been destroyed. Their colonies are gone. Their orbital defenses are minimal. Earth floated beneath them. Defenseless. Broken. Alone. Another officer stepped forward. Should we begin negotiations? The bridge grew quiet. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the admiral slowly turned. His eyes were cold. Negotiations. The single word sounded almost dangerous. The officer swallowed. Yes, sir, they appeared defeated. X looked down at Earth, at the birthplace of every nightmare the Empire had endured. Then he remembered B9. Demeter, Station 7, 48 years of death, 48 years of traps, 48 years of human madness. No. The answer was immediate. We do not negotiate. The bridge fell silent. The admiral's claws tightened around the railing. We do not land. Silence. We do not communicate. More silence. We do not give them another opportunity. The officer nodded slowly. Understanding. Fear. Both. X pointed toward the planet. Erase it. No one argued. No one questioned the order. 100 dreadnoughts moved into synchronized firing positions. Heavy thermal weapons charged. Planet killer systems activated. The bombardment began. The hologram showed beams of white fire striking Earth. Entire cities vanished. Mountain ranges melted. Oceans boiled beneath unimaginable heat. The first day turned continents into burning wastelands. The second day transformed forests into oceans of ash. The third day shattered civilization itself. Rivers evaporated. Atmospheres burned. The surface became a furnace. Still the bombardment continued. On the fourth day, nothing remained. Earth was dying. The sensors tracked the population in real time. Billions, millions, thousands, hundreds, dozens. Then, zero. The final human heartbeat stopped. The final human voice fell silent. The final human life ended. Humanity was gone. The war was over. The bridge erupted into celebration. Officers cheered. Soldiers embraced. Some openly cried from relief. Nearly half a century of war had finally ended. The nightmare was over. Grand Admiral X slowly sat down in his command chair. For the first time in years, he felt something resembling peace. Log the victory. His voice sounded tired. Inform the Imperial Council that the human threat has been eliminated. The communications officer nodded. Yes, Admiral. X closed his eyes. Finally, it was done. Then an alarm sounded. The celebration stopped instantly. The sensor officer stared at his console. Confusion spread across his face. Admirals. X opened his eyes. What is it? The officer hesitated. We're receiving a signal. The Admiral frowned. A signal? Yes, sir. From Earth. The officer shook his head. No. His voice became uneasy. It originates from the outer edge of the system. Silence returned to the bridge. The officer continued. Our scans show a hidden transmission buoy in the cloud. X leaned forward. What kind of transmission? The officer swallowed. It appears automated. A pause. It activated the exact moment Earth's population reached zero. The celebration was forgotten. Every eye turned toward the main screen. The transmission opened. Lines of text appeared. Thousands of lines. The bridge became silent. The screen displayed every major battle of the war. Every destroyed ship. Every lost soldier. Every ruined fleet. Every economic loss. Every casualty. Every cost. The complete ledger of 48 years of war. The final bill. At the bottom appeared a message. A human message. The bridge translator automatically converted it. To the invaders of our home. If you are reading this, humanity is dead. You burned our cities. You destroyed our worlds. You killed our children. You thought we would surrender. You thought we would kneel. You never understood us. We knew we could never beat you. We knew that from the beginning. Your technology was stronger. Your fleets were larger. Your empire was older. So we chose a different victory. We decided to make our deaths the most expensive thing your species ever bought. Look at the ledger above. That is your bill. We broke your military. We shattered your economy. We turned your greatest victory into a wound that will never heal. And before you leave, check your long-range sensors. We've been preparing one final gift. Humanity thanks you for your business. The transmission ended. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Then every alarm on the bridge activated simultaneously. The sensor officer nearly fell from his station. Admiral. X shot to his feet. What now? The officer's face had gone pale. Massive kinetic signatures detected. The bridge froze. Where? The officer pointed toward the display. The outer system lit up. Hundreds. Thousands. Then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. Objects. Enormous objects. The computer finally completed identification. Asteroids. Continental-sized asteroids. The Admiral stared. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Targets. The officer checked the projections. His blood ran cold. Oh no. The Admiral's voice sharpened. Report. The officer looked up. They aren't aimed at us. Silence. They're aimed at the Empire. A massive star map appeared. Red trajectories stretched across the galaxy. Toward major worlds. Toward industrial centers. Toward population hubs. Toward home planets. Toward everything. For decades, humanity had secretly prepared. Mining asteroids. Installing engines. Building launch systems. Creating a final weapon. A weapon designed to activate only after humanity ceased to exist. Dead Hand Protocol. A species-wide revenge system. The ultimate final strike. The Admiral felt his stomach tighten. Can we stop them? The censor officer slowly lowered his head. No, sir. The room became silent. They're moving at near-light speed. The officer pointed toward the projections. Most will be intercepted. A pause. But not all. Nobody spoke. The officer finished. Even a handful getting through will kill billions. The bridge fell completely silent. For the first time in 48 years. Grand Admiral X understood. Humanity had never expected to survive. Not once. Not ever. They knew they couldn't defeat the Empire. They knew Earth would eventually burn. They knew every colony would fall. And they had accepted it. Because survival had never been their objective. The humans had chosen something else. Revenge. If they could not live free, then neither would the Empire. X slowly looked at the burning remains of Earth. The dead planet drifted silently below. Humanity was gone. Yet somehow, they had fired the final shot. The hologram faded. The archive chamber became silent once more. The cadets stood motionless. No one knew what to say. Finally, Historian reached forward and removed the crystal. The file closed. The images vanished. The old carefully returned humanity's record to its secure vault. The massive door slowly shut. Heavy locks engaged one after another. The file disappeared behind layers of steel and stone. One cadet finally found his voice. If humanity is gone. He hesitated. Why keep the file hidden? Stared at the sealed vault. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he answered. Because the official history says we won. The cadets nodded. That was true. The Empire survived. Humanity did not. Victory. Shook his head. No. His voice was quiet. Haunted. That wasn't victory. He looked toward the sealed vault one final time. Humanity taught the galaxy something that day. The old historian slowly turned away. You can kill a human. His footsteps echoed through the archive. You can conquer their worlds. The cadets followed silently. You can destroy everything they have ever built. The lights of the vault dimmed behind them. But if you try to take away everything they love. Stopped at the end of the corridor. His yellow eyes reflected the darkness. They will gladly drag you into the grave with them. The vault door sealed completely. And behind it rested the only classified file in Imperial history. The record of the only species that lost the war. And still destroyed the victor.